Good morning, Acharya ji.
We'll start. Om Sadashiva Samaramбhaಂ Shankaracharya Madhyamam
Madhacharya Paryantam
Vande Guru
Vande Guru
Paramparam.
Paramparam.
Om Sahana
Om
Vavatu
Sahana
Sahana
Bhavatu
Bhunaktu
Sahana Bhunaktu
Saviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu
Tejasvinavadhita
Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we are on the third chapter of the Karikas and we are on the 20th verse today. So we will chant Mandukya Karika, third chapter, 20th verse. Ajatasyaiva bhavasya
Ajatasya bhavasya
jatim icchanti vadinaha.
Atim Icchanti Vadinaha
Ajato himrito bhavaha
Ajato Himrito Bhavaha
martyatam kathameshyati.
Martyatam Kathameshyati.
Okay, so we are continuing the discussion on other darshanas, and here he says, Vadinaha, the people from other darshanas, other schools of thought, Jatim Icchanti. They Icchanti, they wish to know about Jatihi, about the birth. And about whose birth are they talking about? Ajatasya bhavasya evaha. So these debaters, they talk about the birth of the one who has no birth. Ajatasya bhavaha, that birthless entity, Brahman, they want to know about the birth of that entity. And therefore he asks, Katham ajataha, how can the immortal one, Amrita bhavaha, how can that ajataha, birthless Amrita bhavaha, immortal one, how can he martyatam he yeshati? How can he indeed become mortal? How can that birthless, immortal Brahman become mortal? So this is the word meaning. So there are darshanas who say that it is Brahman who actually transforms into the world. Remember that this mithya concept is there only in Advaitam. So in Advaitam, when we say Brahman transforms, we mean that there is a mithya jagat coming out of Satyam Brahman. But these darshanas, they don't have the concept of mithya at all. And therefore they say that when Brahman, and this they're interpreting Shruti, because Shruti says that Brahman becomes the jagat, becomes the universe. And these people therefore say that when Srishti starts, when the creation starts, what happens? Before creation, Brahman is existing, but there is no universe. But when Brahman transforms into the universe, what happens? There is a real transformation because the universe is also real for them. And because the universe is real, once Brahman has transformed into the universe, Brahman no longer exists, but only the universe exists. So for these darshanas, during creation, universe is there, but there is no Brahman. And during pralayam, the universe is not there, but Brahman is there. Therefore, when they say Brahman produces the creation, they mean that this changeless Brahman is actually changing into the Satyam Jagat, into the real universe. And so Shankara in his commentary says that if for those philosophers, Brahman has really transformed into the universe, then remember that Brahman is a changing entity. And because it has changed into the universe, that Brahman is no longer existing during creation. Therefore, that Brahman is not immortal, he is mortal. By postulating that Brahman has changed into Jagat, these philosophers are saying that Brahman is mortal, and therefore Shankara asks, how can that Brahman who is intrinsically immortal, his nature is intrinsically immortality, how can that immortal Brahman, how can it become mortal at all? And he adds, in no way, na kathanchana, says Shankaracharya, in no way can Brahman become mortal. Therefore, the views of these philosophers have to be rejected. Now we look at Karika number 21. We will chant. न भवत्यमृतं मर्त्यम्
न
भवत्यमृत्यं मर्त्यं
न मर्त्यम् अमृतं तथा
न मर्त्यम् अमृतं तथा
कृतेरन्यथा भावः
प्रकृतेरन्यथा
कृतेरन्यथं
भावः
भावा
न कथञ्चित् भविष्यति.
न
न
कथञ्चित्
कथञ्चित् भविष्यति.
भविष्यति.
All very important and beautiful karikas. So he says, Martyam na bhavati amritam. So the bhavatyamritam has to be broken into bhavati plus amritam. And you can rearrange the sentence, Martyam na bhavati amritam. Or you can say, Amritam na bhavati martyam. Amritam, the immortal, martyam na bhavati, cannot become mortal. Tatha, in the same manner, na martyam amritam bhavati. The mortal cannot become immortal also. What is the reason? Prakritehe, the intrinsic nature, na anyatha bhavaha, cannot be transformed in any manner. So he is talking about intrinsic nature of anything, can never be transformed. Therefore, na kathanchit bhavishyati, na prakritehe anyatha bhavaha kathanchit bhavishyati. The transformation of the intrinsic nature of any entity can never take place kathanchit, in any manner whatsoever. Okay, it's all very important karikas. All the karikas starting from 17 onwards up to the next one, they are all to understand the real nature of Brahman, what can Brahman do and what it cannot. And if you understand these karikas, then only our Atmagyanam knowledge is clear. And if Atmagyanam knowledge is clear, then only moksha will happen. And so it's a very, very important karika, presenting one of the most fundamental laws of Vedanta, which we have seen before in Bhagavad Gita also, in second chapter. What is that? Intrinsic nature can never undergo change. Remember that. Why is this law so important? Because your entire sadhana is based on this principle, that intrinsic nature can never change. How do we say entire sadhana is based on this principle? Anybody? How is your entire sadhana based on the principle that intrinsic nature can never change?
Atma and Atma Viveka. Understanding that.
Brahman is the changeless entity, which under no circumstances, under no condition will it change. And
No,
so we understand Satyam and Mithya.
the idea is that what you are the Jivatma, right?
Right?
If your intrinsic nature is mortality, then any amount of sadhana cannot change that mortality.
Yes.
But if your intrinsic nature is immortality, then all you have to do is to understand that yes, I am immortal by nature, and that is the sadhana. Remember that any darshana which says that you go to Kailasha or Vaikuntha or Brahmaloka, that doesn't guarantee you any immortality. Because if you are by nature, if you are mortal, if you accept that Jivatma has mortality as his real nature, intrinsic nature, whatever you do, whatever sadhana you do, that mortality will never go. The sadhana which you say will make me immortal, make in admitted commas, that sadhana makes sense only if immortality is your real nature. If your essential intrinsic nature is immortality, then what is mortality?
The body, the
Everything
agamtic
else.
nature.
It's because we have this false identification with the body, the
What is it
mortality of
called?
the body.
What is it called? You're all advanced Vedantic
Vyakta,
students.
Vyakta Prapancha.
No, it's called
Adhyasa.
adhyasa. It's called
Adhyasa.
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 So if immortality is your essential nature as a jivatma also, then the mortality which you experience in inverted commas, that mortality is a superimposition and adhyasa. So the idea is that either you have always been liberated, always been immortal, or you will never be immortal. There are only two choices. You accept yourself as immortal, and you have to say that I was immortal, I am immortal, I will always be immortal. You accept yourself as mortal today, whatever you do, you will never become immortal. And if you are mortal, then any sadhana for moksha is meaningless. And that is why the entire long 10, 15 years of study we do, what is it for? It is to answer the question, am I mortal or am I immortal in my intrinsic nature? And the answer which you arrive at, the answer to the question which you arrive at, that is the indicator whether you have assimilated Vedanta or not. Remember, there is no bridge between immortality and mortality. There is no corridor which connects immortality and mortality. Therefore, never make an effort, never do sadhana to become immortal. The only sadhana you require is to inquire whether I am mortal or immortal. And that is what Ramana Maharshi meant by who am I? The answer to that question is, am I a mortal or am I immortal? That is what the inquiry is. And this is the inquiry which is conducted in Vedanta. Remember that if you are immortal by intrinsic nature, then that immortality will never go away. It might be veiled. You might think you are mortal because of the adhyasa, because of the superimposition. But moksha, what is moksha? Moksha is dropping the sadhana that you do for moksha, dropping the struggle to be liberated. What is the basis of dropping that struggle? The jnanam, the knowledge that I am already liberated, I am already immortal. And once you are convinced that you are immortal, no more sadhana is necessary for immortality. Right? And if at all, after being convinced that I am immortal, I do sadhana, which we call nididhyasanam. It is only to constantly remind myself that yes, I am eternally immortal. I am nitya mukta. And that is what nididhyasanam is. I am already what I want my sadhana to make me. There is no sadhana necessary at all. Okay. Now we look at Karika number 22. स्वभावेनामृतो यस्य
स्वभावेनामृतो यस्य
यस्य
भावो गच्छति मर्त्यताम्
भावो गच्छति
मर्त्यताम्
मर्त्यताम्
कृतकेनामृतस्तस्य
कृतकेनामृतस्तस्य
कथं स्थास्यति निश्चल
कथं
ध्यास्यति निश्चल.
चल
Okay. So, yasya, for that person, swabhavena amrita bhavaha. What is immortal by nature, if for that person, gacchati martyatam, that immortal nature can become mortal, martyatam gacchati, going towards mortality, can become mortal. For him, tasya, katham amritam sthasyate nischala. Katham amritam. How can that immortality, nischala sthasyati, be constant, be steady? So he's saying if a person who is immortal by nature, if that nature can become mortal, how can that immortality be said to be constant? Why? Because kritakena, since it is a karyam, it's a product. So this is what is called in Vedanta as abhyupetyavadaha, hypothetical agreement, argument, a suppositional argument. What is the argument? Supposing this immortal Brahman, let's put it other way. Supposing this Brahman who was once immortal has, because it has changed into Jagat and Jiva, because we say Brahman produces Jagat Jiva, right? So because this Brahman has changed into Jagat and Jiva, that once immortal Brahman has become mortal. Why? Because he is no longer existing. Right? Because immortal Brahman was there. He has changed into Satyam Jagat and Satyam Jiva. Brahman is no longer there. Therefore, he has become mortal. So that Brahman is now a mortal Jiva and a mortal Jagat. Okay. Now what happens? This Jivatma, Jiva, scripture tells him that, oh, you are actually immortal Brahman. And therefore he says, okay, now I want to regain my immortal Brahman status. And for that, I will do sadhana. I will do karma yoga, upasana yoga, all those things I will do. Kundalini, meditation, everything I will do, and I will reacquire my immortal Brahman status. So, what is he going to do? We are assuming that he is going to be successful in his sadhana. Right? So, from this mortal Jiva, he has become immortal Brahman again because of the sadhana. Right? The sadhana is, all sadhanas can be classified as some sort of karma. And karma can produce only 4 types of results. We have seen this before. One is aptihi. What is aptihi? What is
To
the meaning of
acquire, to get, to
reach? Okay, aptihi is to reach somewhere. The second was utpattihi, to be born. The third one is samskaraha, which is refinement. And the fourth one is vikaraha, which is change. So karma can produce only 4 results: reaching somewhere, producing something, being purified, or changing. These are the 4 results of karma which we have seen. And this mortal jiva has become immortal through one of these sadhanas. Now, will this immortal status be a permanent status or a temporary status. This mortal jiva who has become immortal, that immortality, will it be permanent or temporary? What is the answer? We know that whatever has a beginning has to have an end. And the jiva was mortal. And therefore, through his sadhana, he got immortality. That immortality has a beginning. Therefore, it will necessarily have an end. Therefore, it is a impermanent immortality, which is not moksha at all. Anitya moksha. It's a contradiction in terms. It's an oxymoron, right? And therefore, Shankara in his commentary writes that artificially produced immortality, it can never be permanent. It can never be stable. It can never be constant. And thus, for the person who says that Brahman actually changes, a real Brahman changes into a real world, for that kind of a philosopher, for that kind of a darshana, immortal Brahman does not really exist at all. Because in his view, since Brahman is also changing, Brahman is also mortal, Jiva is mortal, Jagat is mortal, everything is mortal. So for him, there is no concept of immortality. Where is the question of moksha at all? Therefore, in that darshana, there is no question of moksha, since there is nothing immortal. For him, all shastra becomes a waste, has no prayojanam, no utility at all. So you can, as a Vedantin, you can probably get up and say, okay, what about Maya? You are saying that Maya is immortal, eternal. Don't you say Maya is eternal? Yes, you say. But Maya is also changing all the time. What is the answer? How do you reconcile the changing status of Maya with the Shastric statement that Maya is eternal?
Is Maya really eternal? I think Maya gets destroyed once you know Brahman.
No,
Is it correct?
Maya doesn't get destroyed. Once you know Brahman, Maya you know as Mithya, and that is the
Mithya.
answer. A Mithya object is as good as not being there. So in this question, we can have two levels. For a beginner student, we say yes, Maya is Nityam, it is immortal. But for a senior student, what do we say? Maya is Mithya. There is nothing other than Brahman. And therefore, to say that Maya is eternal or not, that question itself is wrong, because there is no Maya at all. Maya is ultimately nothing but the power of Brahman. And because Brahman is eternal, Maya is also eternal. But Maya is of a lower level of reality. It is changing all the time. But that does not make it non-eternal, because it is dependent upon Brahman, which is eternal. The difference in the levels of reality, that is what we are talking about. That is a huge difference between Vedanta, Advaitic Vedanta, and any other school of thought. And the third answer we have seen earlier, Maya is neither existing nor non-existing. It appears to exist. Why? By borrowing existence from Brahman, which is what we mean by Mithya. It is a different form of supplying that answer on. So here we have to understand that anything which changes, Vedanta regards as mortal. And in Vedanta, you have to classify changing things into two. Maya as the cause. So Maya Karanam. Maya as the cause is one classification of Maya, which is changing, and Maya Karyam, Maya as the product, is another classification of things that are changing. Both are changing. So when I say Maya Karyam, the product, the earth, the Jagat, the universe is mortal, I mean that in time, during Pralayam, Maya resolves into Maya Karanam. That is Maya Karyam, the Maya product, resolves into the Maya cause. What about Maya Karanam? Maya Karanam ends by understanding that it is Mithya. Maya Karanam can be said to be destroyed only in the wake of Jnanam. There is no real destruction. Only in the eyes of the Jnani, that Maya has stopped being different from Brahman. For him, wherever he sees Brahman only. When he looks at the world, he sees Brahman. Therefore, Maya is said to have been destroyed. It's like for the jeweler, the bangle destruction takes place not by actual destruction, but by the understanding the bangle is only gold. Very, very beautiful and nice Karika. Any questions? Very important for us to understand these Karikas properly. But that is why this Mandukya is so important. The Karikas drive home the real meaning, makes us understand.
Acharya is just simply a shift in the perspective, the understanding from the Paramarthic to the Vyavaharik, and just knowing that it is all Paramarthic and Vyavaharik. We are
The
moving
beauty
back
of
from.
it is that you know there is Vyavaharik. Because when you say something is Paramarthik, you are saying it from the Vyavaharik point of view.
Yes.
Right? So beauty is to accept that in Vyavahara also, I know there is Paramarth. That's what
Yes.
is the whole point, is to try to make you aware of the immortal status of yours while going through a mortal life. Okay.
Acharyaji, so initially we say that Maya is there, but eventually you understand that Brahman is all that is.
Very much, but like again and again I'll repeat, you cannot discount Vyavaharika. You cannot discount Maya because you are there. You are very
Yes.
firmly grounded in Vyavaharik. Whenever you're talking, whenever you're listening, whenever you're studying, it is Vyavaharika only. You cannot step
So
away from that.
on the Vyavaharika, you know Maya is totally dependent on
One
Brahman,
very
but
common mistake which people make is they discount Vyavaharika and talk only about Brahman. You cannot discount Maya. Maya is very much there. All you have to understand is that the levels of reality are different. It's like when you are being chased by a dream tiger, you can't discount the dream tiger, right?
Ji,
But if in the dream you know that, oh, this is the dream, then the tiger chasing you won't bother you.
ji. Thank you, Acharya.
Okay, so we look at Karika number 23. Bhutato vapi
Bhutato,
Bhutato,
bhutato
bhutato
vapi.
vapi.
सृज्यमाने समाश्रुतिः
Pradyamane
Srijyamane
samashruti.
samashruti.
निश्चितं युक्तियुक्तं च
Nishtam
Nishchitam
yukti
yukti
युक्तियुक्तं च
yuktam
yuktam
cha.
cha.
यत्तद्भवति नेतरत्
यत्तत्
Yat
Tat
भवति
bhavati
bhavati
netarat.
नेतरत्
netaratu.
So bhutato srijyamane, abhutato srijyamane va api. Whether this vyavaharika, whether this dualistic world, whether this dvaitam is bhutato, actually created, abhutato, or not created at all, srijyamane vapi. If the creation, srijyamane is creation, whether it is actually created, bhutato srijyamane, abhutato srijyamane vapi. Whether dvaitam is really created or is not created, is an apparent creation. Samasrutihi, the Shruti statements are the same and yet nishchitam. So that those Shruti statements have to be properly examined, yukti yuktam, using proper logic, and tat bhavati. What comes out of the examination of the Shruti statement after applying proper logic, tad bhavati, that alone is the real meaning conveyed by the Shruti. Na itarat. Netarata is na itarat, not anything else. And therefore, it's a very nice Karika which says that for ascertaining the correct interpretation of any Vedic statement, of any Upanishadic statement, two things have to be used. Mimamsa Shastram. Mimamsa Shastram is the way of analyzing statements. And logic. Two things have to be used. Now you will see Shankara brings in a Purva Pakshi. He objects. You say Brahman is Nirvikaraha, changeless, right? And therefore, using your own logic, a changeless entity should not be able to create anything at all. But there are so many Shruti statements which say Brahman is the creator. How do you reconcile? So Shankara in his commentary says Badam. Badam means, okay, you are partially correct, right? Shruti does talk about Brahman as the creator of the universe. That is correct. But the correct understanding has to be arrived at using the proper tools, Mimamsa and logic. When you say Brahman is material cause, Upadana Karanam, normally you will say, okay, wood is the Upadana Karanam for the chair, and no more questions are asked. But when you say Brahman is Upadana Karanam, you need to say, ask a further question. What is that question? By now you guys should know. What should be the question?
Which type of
Vivartu-
upadana karam is it?
Vivartu
Vivarta
padam.
or Parinami?
Whether Brahman is Vivarta Upadana Karanam or Parinami
Parinam.
Upadana Karanam. Parinami Upadana Karanam means that actually changes. Vivarta means Brahman doesn't change at all. Okay. So, Parinami Upadana Karanam, we all know there are so many examples. And the famous example is milk becoming curds. Vivarta Upadana Karanam, the example is the rope becoming the snake, or to put it correctly, the rope producing the snake, appearing as the snake. So this is known as adhyasa, which will be subject to negation, apavada later. Adhyasa means superimposition. So when the rope becomes the snake is the adhyasa on the rope, and later on when you bring the torchlight, the snake is negated, which is the apavada. So coming back to our question of how to study, how to analyze the scriptural statement, the Srishti Vakyam, creation statement in the scripture, our understanding has to move through stages. First is Brahman is non-changing cause for Jagat. Then, second stage is Brahman is seemingly the cause for the Jagat. The third stage is Brahman is not the real cause for Jagat at all. And therefore, fourth stage is what? Therefore, Jagat is Mithya only. Why is it important? Moksha is possible only if you have convinced yourself about the Mithyatvam of the world, of the Jagat. Unless Jagan Mithya is firmly entrenched in your mind, Brahma Satyam can never happen. And focus, therefore, should be on Jagan Mithya first. Okay, this is not something new. I mean, we are on the 23rd Karika. If you go back about 7 Karikas, the 15th Karika of this chapter, of chapter 3, this idea has already been conveyed. Now, Shankara in his commentary gives 2 reasons why this world, why this universe, why this creation can never be Satyam. What is the first one? According to Vedanta, Maya, matter, cannot be created, nor can it be destroyed. And the universe, if it is arising out of that Maya which cannot be destroyed or created, where is the question of any creation? We saw this in Bhagavad Gita itself, 2nd chapter. Anybody remember? What is the verse? Very important verse.
Nasatu vidyate bhava.
Sorry?
Nasatu visuddhyate bhava.
No. Avyaktadini bhutani
Adini
vyaktamadhyani bharata. Avyakta nidhanani eva tatra ka paridevana. First it was avyakta condition. Then it is vyakta condition. Then again it is avyakta condition. Already said. Vedanta says matter cannot be created or destroyed. Science also says the same thing. Right? So what then happens? So science says energy is transformed into matter. Matter is transformed into energy. We say Maya becomes manifest Maya. Maya becomes unmanifest Maya. That is all that happens. There is a transformation of state only. The transformation of the unmanifest Maya into manifest Maya is what you call birth of the universe. The transformation of manifest Maya into unmanifest Maya is what you call pralayam or death of the universe. Okay, so the primary meaning of the word creation does not fit. Right? The mukhya artha of the word srishti does not fit because of this problem. And when mukhya artha doesn't fit, you should take when the primary meaning doesn't fit, you should take the figurative meaning, which is called gauna artha. So when mukhya artha, primary meaning, does not fit a sentence, you should take the figurative meaning, gauna artha. What's an example? When I say, Lakshmana is a lion, am I taking gauna artha or am I taking mukhya artha? I am not taking mukhya artha. Why? Because Lakshmana doesn't have 4 legs and a tail, nor canines. I am taking that bravery, that courage of the lion as applicable to Lakshmana. That is gauna artha. So first reason Shankara gives is the srishti has to be taken in gauna artha, figurative transformation only. Okay. Then Shankara gives one more argument. It's a suppositional argument. Supposing the creation is real, supposing srishti is real, Jagat is Satyam, it can never be destroyed. Because Satyavastu is there in all the 3 time frames, right? That is what we saw in Tattvabodha. Satyam means Trikale Tishtati. It is there in all the 3 time frames, which means it can never be destroyed. If universe can never be destroyed, what is the conclusion? There are 2 conclusions. The first conclusion is that samsara can never go away. You appreciate? If the universe is Satyam, then samsara is Satyam. And therefore it can never go away. There is no concept of moksha at all. Supposing you say no. The samsara which is Satyam, it is possible for it to go away. Supposing that is your argument, then what is my argument? If you say that a Satyam Samsara can go away, then I can say that a Satyam Brahman can also be destroyed. And if Brahman can be destroyed, we go back to what we saw in the last Karikas. There is no such thing as moksha. If there is no such thing as moksha, there is no utility for the Veda at all. There is no prayojanam for Shastram. There is no necessity to have the Veda because it cannot give you moksha. And therefore, moksha is possible only when you accept that Jagat is mithya. And that's why Jagat mithya has to be the first understanding that I have. And mithyatvam of the Jagat will happen only through jnana. Right? Remember that all forms of creation, whether it is pratibhasika creation, which is your dream world, or it is vyavaharika creation, whether transactional world, they are born of ignorance only, mula avidya only, and they are not real. Right? So Shankara gives in his commentary a statement from the Mandukya Upanishad. I don't know if you guys remember. Sabhahyabhyantaro yajaha iti shrutehi. The Brahman ajaha is never born in the form of Jagat. Right? It has never been born. Shankara gives the Shruti to say that. Shruti also says that Brahman is not born, can never be destroyed. And therefore, whatever meaning is arrived at by analyzing the Shruti Vakyam, that meaning is that Brahman is Ekam Eva Advitiyam, non-dual, one single entity alone. That is Brahman. And that Brahman is not born, that Brahman is immortal. And this can also be arrived at by logic, which we have seen. And that alone is the teaching purpose, the tatparyam of the Shruti, to show that whichever way you look at it, by Shruti Vakyam, by analyzing Shruti statements, or by using logic, the understanding is that Brahman alone is there and Jagat is Mithya. Then you might say, okay, what about Karma Kanda? Karma Kanda talks about puja and rituals and whatnot. So Shankara says even the Dvaitam, the duality presented in Karma Kanda, is ultimately meant for what? For understanding non-duality only. Karma Kanda is for the beginner. Karma Kanda is a pramanam for the beginner. When you have got Chitta Shuddhi, Karma Kanda ceases to be a pramanam for you because then Jnana Kanda becomes the pramanam. And therefore, Dvaitam is presented in Karma Kanda as a stepping stone. It is meant for you to understand that Advaitam alone is there. So let's try to summarize these ideas in the Karikas because we need to meditate upon them again and again. Remember that Dvaitam is nothing but samsara. Right? The journey from bondage to liberation can never be a journey from duality to duality. If you go from one duality to another duality, it can never be moksha because the very duality is the root cause of that bondage. Why is that so? Because when you say duality, in what form is that duality? It's in the form of a division, subject and object. Wherever there is a division of subject and object, there is space and there is time. Subject-object duality invariably brings in time and space dimension. Once time and space come in, mortality follows. Once mortality comes in, fear and insecurity follows. And that is what is samsara. So samsara is going to be there as long as the subject-object division is there. Even when I say I am worshipping Lord Shiva and I am seeing myself as different from that Lord, it is samsara alone. It's a better form of samsara, but it is samsara alone. And second corollary is wherever there is duality, you will have things which you like and things which you don't like. Wherever there is another person or more, another number of persons, some I will like, some I won't like. Ragadvesha is unavoidable. Wherever there is Ragadvesha, there is samsara. Thirdly, whenever there is a division, some things will be better and some things will be not so good. So there will be comparisons. Wherever there is comparisons, there is jealousy. Wherever there is jealousy, there is samsara. Therefore, wherever there is duality, there is fear, there is raga, there is dvesha, there is jealousy. Yatra yatra dvaitam, tatra tatra bhayam, raga, dvesha, asuya, etc. All are inevitable. All these together is what? It's nothing but samsara alone. Okay, so as I said, moksha can never be a journey from duality to duality. So there are darshanas which say that moksha means going to Vaikuntha, going to Kailasha. But that just means going from one loka, one place to another place. And if in that loka also there is the subject-object division, what have I done? I have left behind Dvaitam on the earthly plane and gone to Dvaitam in the heavenly plane. As long as I hold on to the Dvaitam, samsara will continue. This idea should be very, very clear for a Vedantic student. Going to some place may be wonderful. You know, you might have, if you go to Kailasha or Vaikuntham, you might have beautiful food, you might have the Lord. All this is there. This is not moksha. That is not the concept of moksha that a Vedantin should have. Okay. Then what about the journey from bondage to liberation? As we said, it is not a journey from Dvaitam to Dvaitam. It has to be a journey from Dvaitam to Advaitam alone. Because in Advaitam, the very name implies nothing else is present. No divisions are present. No raga is there. No dvesha is there. No jealousy is there. That is the only place where there is total peace. What is the proof? Sushupti avastha. Every day you are in Sushupti avastha. In that avastha, you don't have raga, dvesha, kama, krodha. Nothing is there. Okay. Then, one more idea is the journey from Dvaitam to Advaitam can never be a physical journey. Because Advaitam is not a place located in some plane. Why? Because if it is located in some plane, it's a loka. Any loka is subject to time and space. So Advaitam cannot be existing within time and space. And therefore, there is no physical journey possible from Dvaitam to Advaitam. And therefore, the final point is that the journey from Dvaitam to Advaitam means only one thing. Journey from Ajnanam, ignorance, to Jnanam. Because of this Ajnanam, because of this ignorance, I see a seeming duality wherever I go. When I go to non-duality, whatever I have seen before, which was seeming to be duality, really becomes a non-dual entity. It is like the dreamer. You have a dream world, you have so many dream things, but when you wake up, you have reached your waker's nature, the real nature. You have transcended that dream duality. How? By waking up. This is what is tried to be conveyed by the entire Mandukya Upanishad. One should assimilate these points thoroughly. And therefore, Dvaitam is samsara. The journey to moksha is never a journey from Dvaitam to Dvaitam. The journey for moksha has to be from Dvaitam to Advaitam. That journey is not a physical journey. It can only be in the form of meaning, jnanam only. Okay, so with this we'll stop today. Any questions?
Om
All very,
Acharya.
very important karikas. Yes, please, Vinita ji.
Mind-blowing Acharya. Mandukya has been a
Mandukya
different
is,
journey, and you
yeah,
have taken us very, very beautifully slow through the whole steps. And Mandukya is just absolutely mind-blowing.
Yep. A
So,
lot of things yet to come. So more minds will be blown.
yes, I'm sure. So, Acharya, can we say that when we are looking at the waker and the dreamer, can we say that the waker, the jnani, is in the Paramarthika and the dreamer is the Vyavaharika, which we see, which we have to deal with, which cannot be avoided, which is a reality?
Yeah, so this 3 levels of reality that we talk about, Pratibhasika, Vyavaharika and Paramarthika, 2 which are experienced by us are Vyavaharika and Pratibhasika. Vyavaharika is the
Right.
current waking world, Pratibhasika is the dreaming world. Both are experienced. And
Right.
that experience is used to indicate to you that there is another pair, Vyavaharika, Paramarthika. And whatever parallels you are seeing here, that whatever is in Paramarthika, which appears in Pratibhasika, which appears real during the dream, that disappears, the reality of it disappears when we come to Vyavaharika. That same logic is applicable. Whatever is so real to you in Vyavaharika, from the Paramarthika point of view, it is just as unreal as Pratibhasika.
A dream.
That is what the whole idea is.
Yes. Thank you, Acharya. Thank you.
Okay. So with this, we'll stop. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience. Om Om.
Om
Thank
Namah
you
Shivaya.
very